Hello, viewers. Today, or rather tonight, I would like to talk about a young woman, a young girl actually, who I believe was about 19. A fellow woman of the black social status who happened to, I suppose it was, I'm not sure if this was less than 1 month ago, but she had made the unfortunate decision to commit suicide due to racist bullying. As you can see, she was a cosplayer. She was in that community, and she received a lot of racist comments on her pages, and it was not something that she was ready for. Alright, I suppose she's 20, or she was 20, but a very young woman, basically a girl, for the most part. These things like this, every time they happen, they make me think about how much wasted potential has. It's just wasted potential. It's very sad to me. And the conversations that I've heard have been a bit shallow, let me put it that way, about this. No one really knows, apparently, how to deal with it, which, they're not going to know, because this is going to keep happening in terms of just people who are behaving in a racist manner. And I have to say, for those of us of the black social status, and this is going to be the crux of a lot of what I'm going to be saying tonight. If you are of the black social status, and you could say this is my opinion, but actually, as far as I know, this is basically fact. If you want to survive with some type of personal dignity, you have to be, in essence, countercultural as a person of the black social status, as a Negro of the land, as a Niger of the land, so to speak. You have to be somewhat, if not wholly, countercultural. Because the world, I can say, I take for granted that the world is against me. This is the type of mindset you have to have if you want to survive. Many of our young, many of our young children of the black social status, especially those of darker shades, are not being taught this. And you can see it, because if they were being taught this by their parents and elders, and if they were absorbing this lesson of take for granted that the world is against you, if you do anything in life, regardless of what hobbies you have, what communities you join, you have to take for granted that nearly everyone is against you, that the world itself is against you. That may seem harsh, but this is the truth for those of us of the black social status. We cannot force anyone to not be racist, because they're going to be, whether we like it or not. So we have to generally be prepared for people to hate us. Now, as the Bible saith, the meek shall inherit the earth. I do not know any group of people, any collective of individuals who are more meek in terms of status and person than those of the black social status, the Negroes of the land, the copper-skinned people, black unto the ground. I do not know anyone more meek than those of the black social status. This is why, when you look into black American history, all of our heroes are essentially very faithful Christians. Essentially. What are you talking about? Martin Luther King, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman. They were well known for their faith. In order to survive as a person of the black social status, you have to have a core of self-dignity that can overcome the degradation that will be put upon you by pale and even tawny folk. And you could even be a tawny, a tan, it doth not matter, what type of black you are. Okay? Because according to people who really take the white social status seriously, you are just a Negro of the land, and you are hardly worthy of respect. You have to take this. These are things that many people of the black social status are not taught. I am sure, of course, there are people of the white social status listening. There are tawny folk even listening. All types of people. We have all types of people on the channel, but occasionally I do feel the need to speak upon black social status issues. And I always say I endeavor to say social status every time I refer to black and white. To me, there's no in between. There's just two extremes. White is way, way up above, and black is way, way down below. And for me, as a Christian, I love being of the black social status because us Christians see lowliness and meekness differently than other people. Other people say, well, you're not high in status. You may talk to someone from Asia, some tawny man from China or Japan, and they may say, why would you ever want to be of the lowest social status? Well, to our Christian teachings, the Bible saith, the meek shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. All of these teachings of Jesus Christ, when put together and practiced by us people of the black social status, can make us very powerful mentally. The teachings of Jesus Christ, in my opinion, make a person of the black social status especially, and anyone who would really take the status of Christian upon him as the strongest person you could ever meet, unbreakable mentally, you cannot break them. And on that subject, I might as well get into some of the meat of the subject, so to speak. The first Christians were called Niger. That is right. The N-word. The word we all know that hath a hard G. But in this case, we will be utilizing the English pronunciation of the Latin word Niger. So the first Christians mentioned in the Bible were in Antioch. Now listen here. Acts 13:1, the King James Bible version. Now there were in the church that was in Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger. That is correct. Niger is a word that meaneth black. Souffle. And Lucius of Cyrene and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod and the Tetrarch and Saul. There you go. We have Job 30:30. Some people think the white man came and gave you the religion of the first spirit, of the prime mover, of the one true God. They gave you the religion of the Father. They gave you the Christian religion. They gave these Negroes of the land the religion of the Jews. But what color were the Jews? We have here Job 30:30. And of course, Job was not a Hebrew. However, Job was considered to be a favorite of God and considered to be perfect among men. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with the heat. That's right, his skin is black upon him. Niger meaneth black. Here's another Niger. Job was a Niger. Barnabas and Simeon were Nigers. The first Christians mentioned in the Bible were called Nigers. These are Hebrews over there. We have Job, who is favorite of God. He is black. We might as well continue this. We have Daniel 7:9, when he getteth to see God himself, the Ancient of Days, so to speak. You cannot be more ancient than the Ancient of Days. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels were as burning fire. Daniel 7:9. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. That is Revelation 1:14. This is referring to Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ looketh like his own Father. Alright? He hath the hair of wool. Okay. And I forgot to put the particular verse here where they talk about his skin, or rather his feet. They look like they've been burnt in the fire. Sufli. But we have that one too. So continued from Revelations 1:14, we have, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Sufli. How very interesting. Very interesting indeed, because if your feet are like they burned in the furnace, anything that burned in the furnace is going to be burnt up like in black, in dark. Alright? So he has hair like wool and dark feet. He is dark skinned and hair like wool. He's one of the dark folk. he too is a Negro. When you have this understanding that you will not get from any mundane church, any of your fellow, most of your Christians of the white social status, but that's not necessarily true, because there are some people of the white social status who will tell you the same thing I am telling you and be proud to tell you and say, I, as a pale man, I too come from Negroes. And everyone comes from Negroes, and people who practice science, that is to say modern knowledge, because science meaneth knowledge, will tell you that mankind, the first of mankind, were dark and woolly haired and looked like us people of the black social status. We need not be ashamed for being the true people. In the sense that, why be ashamed that you are in the image of God, and that every single man that came afterwards came from this archetypical primeval man and primeval woman. If you do anything, you need not feel ashamed of your skin or your hair. If you want to get involved with communities, just know that you're a person of the black social status, and there are plenty of people who will hate you because you are of the black social status. To them, this is a status thing. But if you are a Christian, if you are a follower of the way, which is spoken of in the Bible, you will say, well, they have put me into a meek position, but I am glad to be in the meek position, because the meek shall inherit the earth, so saith the scriptures. These are matters of faith. These are not matters that are going to benefit you unless you believe in them. So, unfortunately, young girl has passed over. And I have to say that suicide is an act of violence. And it is a shame when people do it, because violence has an impetus. And the people who engage in it have such a hatred for themselves that they would do this to themselves. And this beautiful young woman certainly did not need to do that, but she did. And so we have to feel bad about it, because it's just a terrible thing. I mean, there's nothing else that we can really say about that. But there are some news articles regarding this. So we have, they say she died at 19, apparently. The page saith 20. Okay, but I guess maybe she just turned 20 or something. But anyhow, as fans cite racist abuse, so the fans are saying she was racially abused. But as I say, us people of the black social status, I tell ye, because I'm not referring to a singular person, I'm using this as ye as a plural. I tell ye, people of the black social status, you have to be prepared for this. Expect it. Expect it. Do not simply be prepared. Expect it. Expect it. If you create content, if you create communities or join communities, expect racism. Online, offline, every day, from everyone that you know. In some cases, even immigrants from Africa, people of the black social status from other backgrounds who may not even like you because you are a black American. Be prepared. Be prepared for all manner of bigotry, and remember who fought for your freedom. Remember that they were Christ-believing Christians like Martin Luther King, whether people like it or not. They were. And we have a lot of liberals, of the white social status. They do not understand why us people of the black social status are so much more religious. They're thinking, well, we became liberals and we have put that old-fashioned, old-school religion behind us, and we are liberated from this. And yet many of those people are still having personality and mental crises themselves. Whereas many people of the black social status, our main problem is facing the vitriol of racism. And I just say, for those of us who are of the black social status, please remember what our ancestors were brought up in. Please remember the Negroes singing spirituals. Please remember that we are people who, whether we like it or not, we have to be able to endure life, or else we will not survive. And without that spiritual core that our ancestors had, that our predecessors had, we will not be able to survive the social media of today. Racist comments, anti-black behavior of every sort, you will not be able to deal with it. Anyhow, she was 19 years old. She left behind the cosplay community, leaving behind the cosplay community. You know, that's apparently sad about it. They're searching for answers, but it's obvious what the answer is. For 7 years, she was building that following. So it's anime and Japanese-inspired character creations. The announcement was November 13th, unfortunately. So someone with access to the account, they informed the followers that she had engaged in suicide. The message celebrated Ash's dedication to cosplay and the connections they forged during the hobby. So there's no official, apparently, oh goodness, so there's no official cause of death that was disclosed. That's interesting. So I thought it was fairly confirmed that it was self-murder. Souffle. Now, who can say? Because I know what I have read. Okay, this is some other article, but this is not what I'm looking for, because I'm looking for more information, because I was pretty sure the young woman had engaged in suicide, unfortunately. Let me see. Type in this self-murder. Okay. Okay. They're not saying what it is. They're not saying it what it is. They're being very... There we go. So they're saying allegedly. They're saying allegedly. So they're not releasing the cause of death. They're not releasing the cause of death, and it seemeth as though people are being very hush-hush about it, and people are just simply saying that she passed away, but how she passed away, no one is saying how she did, and so many people are citing the racist abuse. But either way, regardless of how she passed over, I have to say this. You, my fellow people of the black social status, and other people, regardless of who you are, you have to have a certain degree of dignity. Personal dignity that no one can crush or take away. You have to have a sense of identity even when you are involved in these communities. Dost thou understand? Because everyone else certainly hath their own thoughts about who they are. So you may like the anime, you may like cosplay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone else is engaging with comics, manga, anime, comic books, cartoons, whatever type of fandom communities there are. But you have to, if you want to sort of engage with a certain degree of competence as a person of the black social status, you have to be cautious of everyone that you engage with and really be able to withstand racism. I do not think that many parents and many guardians are doing a service to their children by not training them to be resilient. This has been a subject that hath been talked about before. It hath. And many people who are of the black social status who go about cosplaying, they're tired of being told, hey, you cannot cosplay this person because of your skin. You're too dark. Souffle, this woman's about my complexion. But I have to say, it really is sad. But at the same time, you have to realize that you cannot take any break from being of the black social status. That's who people will treat you as. You know, so even though most people will like what you're doing, there are always going to be blatant racists, and you have to be prepared for it, regardless of where you are, what type of hobby you're engaging in as a person of the black social status. Now, there was a person named SL Kitty who is basically telling people how people talk about things is quite weird now. I would just let you listen.
People who aren't POC, now, if you collab with a black cosplayer, you're most...
Okay, the term PLC is being used an awful lot. Let me see.
POC, now, if you...
what does she say?
PLC.
People who aren't PLC. So, this classification is not good for black social status identity, because it takes you as a person of the black social status and essentially puts you into an unnecessary an unexisting alliance with people who are Tawny, Asian, Arab, Arabian, Saracens, Persians, Siberian looking Native Americans, so to speak. Not like the more copper-skinned American Indians that many of us are familiar with in our black social status families. But it puts you together with all different types of people and say, if you black people are just people of color. And this is not good because different people who have different colors are treated differently on average than we are. They simply are.
Now, if you collab with a black cosplayer, you're most likely gonna get racism on your video. It just is what.
So right here, she's saying if you're collaborating with a person of the black social status, expect racism, which is obvious.
It is. The way you can help, though, is limiting racist words, right? If it gets bad, you could limit comments in general, have different keywords that are...
And so here's the common advice people are giving. They're saying, oh, just limit the comments and do all of these things. But at the same time, in order to succeed in social media, you have to have comments and commentary. And we, people of the black social status, if we want to engage with social media on the scale that people on the white social status are engaging with it, we have to engage with it in full. I could turn the comments on my videos off, but that limits, if you limit the comments, you limit engagement. And so this is not such a good thing in social media circles. I don't think it's good to block it out. I think it's good for people to see it. I think it's good for the person who's receiving it to see it because it prepares you, it strengthens you to it. And it may seem weird, but it does. If you receive enough anti-black criticism, you start to become immune to it. Not to mention the fact when you have people of the white social status seeing it themselves, and you, as a person of the black social status, are able to have enough dignity where you say, this stuff, oh, I know these people are undignified, and I am above them. And that is something other people can see, they can respect it. Whereas hiding from it all the time, it's not a good strategy. It's not a good strategy because even people you may like and trust, they themselves may take a racist turn, and will you be able to be prepared for that? If you block everything out, the emotional roller coaster that is racist backlash, even from people close to you, you're not going to be prepared for it because you've been blocking it out for so long. So I don't think it's good to block things out like this. People have all the popular terms like, oh, you know, people of color, we're people of color, and all of this stuff. I just think it is something we, or rather as a collective, people of the black social status, it is better to be resistant to it. And the question should be, and the teaching should be to the young people, how are you going to resist it? We came from resistors. Understand, we came from resistors. We came from people who resist. We came from civil rights movement. We came from slaves like Nat Turner, who was resisting. We came from people who, even when they were in the fields, were people of the white social status, colonizers, slavers, wanted to break their spirits. These people were still singing spirituals to God, receiving the highest type of power from the first spirit, the supreme ancestor, the father of his children. And as the Bible saith, blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the meek. They are going to be called the children of God. The meek are going to inherit the earth. The peacemakers are going to be called the children of God. So being at a lowly status is not something you should think maketh you low in the eyes of the supreme being, of the great Father, of the great I Am. If you have that mindset, you will be fine. If you have the mindset, I don't need to have faith, I can just rely on science, But science doesn't justify racism either, but it was still used to essentially explain racial superiority in regard to Charles Darwin's origin of species and the preservation of favorite races. Some people don't want to be like their ancestors, like their black social status ancestors. Some people don't want to be like the lowly Negroes of the land. They go, well, why should I be a Negro of the land? Because they had power. They had strength. You want to be like them. Oh, that they believed in God and sung spirituals, but they were as hard as diamond. They were as hard as diamond, and no one could break them. And that is why you are alive. You are alive because they endured. And you will continue to be alive if you take their lessons to heart. You won't cave into the pressures of these anti-black white supremacists. This is important for us to teach our children. Do not run from it. Do not run from the criticism. Leave your comments open. Read them, think about them. Rely upon your teachings as a Christian. And if you are not a Christian, I recommend you become one. That may seem incredible, but I recommend you to essentially study the Gospels, and if you can resonate with the words of Jesus Christ, then you can become one. If you cannot resonate with the words of Jesus Christ, if you're reading Blessed are the peacemakers, you don't want peace, well, you can't be a Christian then. If you don't want to appreciate the fact that you have enemies and love your enemies, you can't be one. That's how our ancestors survived. They were as hard as diamond. Their enemies hated their enemies. They committed all manner of evil, enslaved people, colonized people, went to Australia, colonized black aboriginals, the Negroes of the land, went to New Zealand, colonized them, went to the Americas, colonized the American Indians, the copper-skinned peoples. The first English American dictionary saith, you're copper-skinned. You're a Negro of the land. And they hate you. What are you going to do about it? You're going to persevere just like your ancestors did. If you have that mindset, you will be just fine. It doth not matter what you do. It doth not matter what type of profession you get involved in, hobby you get involved in, avocation, where you go around, anyone. British people, Japanese people, Saracens, it doth not matter. You are going to be just fine because God is on your side. You're the meek of the earth. You're black unto you're black unto the ground. Just as the Bible saith, you are in the form of primeval man. I mean, are we going to Dark Souls here? I mean, primeval is a word, but either way, do not be surprised if these religious concepts are used in video games, art, and media, because they are. That's obvious. But anyhow, I suppose we ought to just simply go over a few more things, Souffle. But first, let's listen to this woman finish her video.
Blocked. I'm not saying as a person who's not of color, you have to go and reply to everyone and get angry. Absolutely not. If people who aren't POC, they feel uncomfortable by it. Imagine how uncomfortable they are going to that video.
And I have to say, this idea, yes, it is true that you can block people too, but it's blocking everyone is not going to stop people from essentially being proactively very virulently racist on your social media. And so we as black social status people, you can do that. You can take our advice if you want. It's probably good advice to an extent, but the question is, on the long term, are you going to be able to persevere on the long term by just blocking everything, blocking off the comments, not showing the comments, not being able to reconcile and feel comfortable with the fact that these racists, these anti-black people watch you and don't like you. And you're able to not be affected by it.
That you posted with them, seeing all those hateful things aimed at them just because of the color of their skin. I feel like you just have to get over that uncomfortability and do what's right. Like, you can't just ignore it because it's in your face.
And this idea that you're just going to ask these white social status creators to essentially do what's right, I think that is unwise. I think that is not a good teaching for any young black social status person, especially in this country. And here's my advice. As a black social status person, do not expect anything from anyone of a higher social status. I know it may seem like, oh, why are you talking about America like it has a caste system? Because America does have a caste system. It's been built on caste systems. So you have to know who you are, and that should be what matters. Asking, fellow white creators, hey, do this when you're collabing with a black social status person. If you don't already know how to not be racist, there's no reason for me to teach you. There's no reason for me to tell you to not be racist or to act in my consideration. And I think it's a strong thing to say, don't do me any favors. I know how the world is, and I know how things are. I know what I am to this country and even to the world. I don't know how some young black social status people are making it. I really don't.
At that point, when you don't do anything at all, when you just sit there and let it happen, that is part of the problem. It's not directly part of the problem, but it is.
But here's my problem with all of this is that why should us as black social status people expect anything of people of the white social status? In this country, everything hinges upon complexion-based social status. Race, in other words. This is why when you as a black social status creator creates cosplays, gets involved in hobbies, you have legions of racist people who come to your channels and discriminate against you. I am telling you to be strong. Don't ask anyone for anything. Expect racism from people from anyone essentially, especially who is not of the black social status, even immigrants who are not from your background. Be cautious. Be suspicious. Be dignified. Don't let them take that away from you. And I think many of our youth are not being taught the same way. They don't have that spiritual grounding, that mental fortitude to survive. And so some people, unfortunately, they are resorting to self-murder. They're resorting to self-murder. And that is an act of violence that is based in self-hatred. It is a shame, but this is happening. I think it's all but confirmed that the girl decided to commit self-murder. Bless her soul, but it's just a very sad thing.
Is contributing because you're allowing it and you're not defending your mutual/friend, whatever they are to you. You don't understand how much positivity can really make someone's day, especially if they're already having a really bad day. Like, it genuinely helps.
I don't really agree with the young woman. I know she's trying to help kind of bring things to the attention of our fellow creators of the white social status, but at the same time, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. And I don't particularly like that strategy. I think the greatest thing you can depend on as a person of the black social status to deal with this type of bullying is your dignity in a sense of identity that goes beyond anyone else's. Imagine how powerful you will be when you take for granted that the world is against you and that you're countercultural. Regardless of any group you get into, whether you get along with them or not, you're going to be able to be resilient. And that is what our whole Black American culture is based in. It's based in resilience. I don't know what the young children are doing, what they're, I'm not saying it's true for all of the youth and the youngsters. And I'm young myself, I'm in my 30s, but at the same time, the girl was, 19, 20 or whatnot? Very, very, very unfortunate that she decided to leave in such an unsavory fashion, it would seem. The fact that the family is not giving out any advice but any information about how she passed over seems to all but confirm how she decided to leave. But anyhow, let us look at a few more quotes. These are just quotes that honestly are good reviewing regardless. Okay? We have things like this. If the world hate you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. Before they hated you as a Niger, or as a meek person, or whatever you are, whoever is listening to this. If you are in the same situation, the Bible saith, before they hated you, they hated the word of God, by which all things were made. Amos 9:7 KJV. Are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? Saith the Lord, have I not brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Captor, and the Syrians from Ker? So he compares his own children to the Ethiopians. What are the Ethiopians? Let's go into detail and understand the significance of comparing your children to Ethiopians. In other words, your chosen people of Jacob to Ethiopians. Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary saith, Ethiopian, a member of any of the mythical or actual peoples usually described by the Greeks as dark-skinned, living far to the south. Archaic, a black person. The second meaning is just a black person. The Greeks talked about these black people. We have a geographical description of the four parts of the world taken from the notes and works of the famous Monsieur Sanson, geographer to the French king. Alright? If his word is not good for us, then we have a problem. Understand? This is the geographer to the French king. Let's read what he hath to say. You want to find this book? Easy to find. Right here. Easy to find this book. Go to archive.org. Is this redirecting me somewhere else? But anyhow, maybe I'll put a link to that in the comments or something. Souffle. Yeah. I thought the hyperlink would just, come up automatically. But anyhow, it's taken a while. After the death of our Savior Jesus Christ, all this country was called the Holy Land. The people which anciently possessed this country were the Jews, being of a middle stature, strong of body, a black complexion. Black complexion. Goggle-eyed. A subtle and ingenious people. Page 20. Geographical description of the four parts of the world. The French king wanted to know how people looked, and Monsieur Sanson, he was glad to do it. And he did it. So this is a whole book. You can get it if you want. I can find this easily. All I have to do is search for it. Because I have to show you how easy it is to find. I can't just... Okay, maybe I can have this thing open up. It's showing me a YouTube link for some reason. I don't know why that is. Anyhow, here we go. Here we go. You can find this book. Is my internet working? Lord knoweth. Why is Archive not working? Archive is not working. Archive is not functioning. Archive.org is where I usually find these books. Sorry, we're kind of busy. Okay, their servers are overloaded right now. That is what is happening. That is a shame. It really is. I use Archive quite a lot. Hopefully we'll be back up. Yeah, so, you know. I mean, that confirms her cause of death, self-murder. Real shame. So, let me see, what was it that I wanted to do? We have here, this complete works of Homer. For Zeus went yesterday to Oceanus, to the blameless Ethiopians for a feast, and all of the gods followed with him. But on the 12th day, he will come back again to Olympus. So, they went to the blameless Ethiopians. These are Greeks. These are Europeans. Saying their gods went to the Ethiopians. Who are the Ethiopians? Ethiopian, a black person, a member of any of the mythical or actual peoples, usually described by the ancient Greeks as dark-skinned and living far to the south. We know how their skin looks. We know how their hair looks. We know who these people are. Okay. So are you not as the children of the Ethiopians? O children of Israel. Ethiopians, well, Homer thinks a lot of Ethiopians, and so does the God of Israel, the God of the church, the God of the peacemakers, the meek, who will inherit the earth. Okay? Now we have here from The 16 Crucified Saviors by Percy Graves. This is another good book that you may want. 16 Crucified Saviors. You may want this book. This is by Percy Graves. Okay. You can find it. Okay, very interesting. What he will say is something quite interesting. In the pictures and portraits of Christ by the early Christians, he is uniformly represented as being black. And to make this the more certain, the red tinge is given to his lips. And the only text in the Christian Bible quoted by Orthodox Christians as describing his complexion represents it as being black. Solomon's declaration, I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. Solomon 1.5 is often cited as referring to Christ. We already know his feet are as though they were burnt in the furnace. His hair is like wool, just like his father's hair is like the pure wool. Alright. The Ancient of Days in the book of Daniel. According to the Bible itself then, Jesus Christ was a black man. Us people of the black social status know this. We know of these pictures that we can find. The Potomac Company. I live in Virginia, but that particular painting is far too expensive for me to buy. But anyhow, viewers, this was just what you could call pep talk. I do not often do these types of videos, but I'm very glad I could do it. I hope it ended on somewhat of a good note. Let me put it that way. I don't like to depress you with these videos. I want them to edify you. They should be something you can use to benefit yourself. I do not care who you are. what social status you may have, whether you're dark folk, tawny folk, palette folk, what have they. Alright? You're all, take what you can, take what you will, use it however you see fit. My goal is simply to provide you the information and just simply to provide you my opinions. It may be that I even talk about the same information during a similar event, or incident that someone may have. Because it's all true. It's all reliable. Okay. Well, anyhow, viewers, this was kind of fun. A bit of a unsettling topic to talk about, but nonetheless, I felt the need to talk about it. May you be blessed, and farewell.